Hello everyone, welcome to the session on regression from the mean. Have you ever wondered where this word regression comes from? You can use the word like correlation or relationship, but why am I using the word regression in this particular technique? This technique is known as simple linear regression. Okay. Here I am studying the relationship between two variables. In this case, number of hours studied by a student and the marks obtained. I could have called this as simple linear correlation or simple linear relationship. Instead, I am using the term simple linear regression. Why am I using that word? Okay, that's what we are going to see, and I am going to take you back in history. And as part of this, I'm going to explain a very powerful concept called regression from mean. Okay. Regression from mean as a concept was popularized by Sir Francis Galton, a very famous British mathematician, statistician, uh, genetic researcher. He was a multifaceted personality and he did research in a lot of areas. Okay. He popularized in the late 19th century. Okay, he lived from 1822 to 1911. So this concept, regression itself, was popularized or introduced in the late 19th century. He was actually doing an analysis of genes. Okay, and he was analyzing whether extreme characteristic observed in one of the offspring, is it getting passed on to the future generations, right? Or if an extreme characteristic, let's say height, okay, let's take for example height, okay, this particular individual would be an outlier, right? In this data set, this particular individual will be an outlier. This particular individual, in a family will be an outlier because he is significantly taller compared to the rest of the people. So this outlier, what is the chances for this outlier to get repeated, in future, in the next set of offsprings? The chances are very, very low. Okay. On the contrary, the characteristics, in this case, height will regress, okay, or reduce towards a mediocre point or the average point. That's something Sir Francis Galton observed in his analysis of genes, and this can be seen in many other data points, in different scenarios, right? So the key point is following an extreme random event, right? An extreme random event, the next random event is likely to be less extreme, right? This can be used in many other scenarios. That's what I said earlier. For example, take the case of an employee's performance, right? An employee's performance. You can call it as you can take the example of productivity, right? An employee's productivity. In a particular financial year, let's say that employee's productivity went through the roof. What will you do? If you are that employee's manager, you will pat that employee on his back. Okay, you may even promote that employee, right? On the other hand, if that employee's productivity, in a particular year went downhill really bad, what will you do? You will reprimand that employee so much, you may even demote that employee. We have seen such scenarios play out in corporate life, right? An employee's performance, if it is really good, that individual is rewarded. If it is really bad, that individual is reprimanded, right? But nobody takes into account this concept of regression from the mean. This individual, if he has hit a new ceiling, a significantly new ceiling, he or she is not going to hit a further new ceiling, right? In fact, this individual's performance is likely to move towards his or her average only, right? Please keep this in mind. So if an employee has bottomed out, his next performance will be lot less lower, or it can even be on the up, right? So please keep this in mind when you are rewarding your employees, when you are reprimanding your employees, because the concept of regression from the mean is at play. We tend to form opinions about individuals based on just one outlier performance, right? Don't do that. Regression from mean is at play. If an extreme event has happened, the chances for that extreme event to happen again is very, very low, and it's even lower for that extreme event to be beaten. Please keep this in mind when you are setting targets, right? So this concept of regression from the mean is very relevant when it comes to motivation, right? So if an employee is at the bottom of the barrel, right, don't go overboard in motivation. You don't need to do that, because the employee is definitely going to pick up on the performance or do the motivation in the right way. Okay, so the key point I'm telling is, use the concept of regression from mean in your reward and recognition structure, and also when it comes to demoting employees, when it comes to reprimanding employees. This concept of regression from mean is very, very important. You can see this in stock market performance as well. You need to know when the stock has hit its peak, right? It's very difficult, not easy to do. And when it has hit its peak, you will tend to think that it's going to go up again. No, it has hit its peak. It's going to come down. It's not going to go up. So if you are going to make investment decisions, take care of this, right? So this concept of regression from mean, can be applied, in multiple scenarios, right? Yes, this is a statistical concept that was popularized in the 19th century, but very relevant even today. We see many organizations make the mistake of rewarding, not the right employees, right? People get demoted, for poor performance. Is it a one-off or is it a consistent poor performance? Some organizations are good, some organizations are not good at it. Keep in mind, as I said, this is not just about employee performance, even investment decisions. If you are, let's say, investing in stock markets, if you are investing in crypto, if you are investing in real estate, you need to know whether the peak has been hit, right, at the same time as the bottom has been reached. You can do the analysis, right? Smart investors will know whether the peak has been hit or whether the bottom has been hit. So the key concept of regression, right? The key concept is this, it is this point that is central to the concept of regression from mean. Okay, following an extreme random event, the next random event is likely to be less extreme. The chances for another random extreme event is very, very low, right? Please note that. The chances for another tall individual, in this group of family is very, very low, right? So are you able to relate to employee productivity, investment decisions, right? So regression from mean is, an individual's performance, an individual's investment, a stock market performance, real estate price will all, average out, right? That is the key thing that we are saying here. It all will average out. Okay. So I started this session with, the question on why we are calling this as regression. Now I'm sure you would have understood, right? This line is known as the line of best fit. This line is supposed to represent the best fit for all the data points. Regression from mean is a totally different concept, but the word regression has been borrowed from this regression from mean concept, because all the data points regress or move towards or tend towards this line, because this line is supposed to be the line of best fit, a best fit for all the data points. So all the data points will regress or move towards this particular line, right? That is why this study of relationship between two variables, or even one dependent variable and two or more independent variables, is known as regression. Okay, this is a case of simple linear regression, right? If I have more independent variables and a single dependent variable, it is a case of multiple linear regression. In this scenario, I am looking for the line of best fit, and all the data points will move towards this line of best fit, right? And hence the word regression has been extended from the regression from mean concept. Okay,